Let's jump into doing a granny square. In order to begin, you want to start with a slip knot. This is going to be the traditional start to a granny square. So we will chain 7. 5, 6, 7. We want to make sure that this lies nice and flat, and then we want to bring it back around and insert our hook back into the first chain, and we will do a slip stitch, which means you'll yarn over, pull through both of the loops on your hook. Okay, this creates a ring. Now, depending on the weight of your yarn, you may need to do a few more chains or a few chains less. This is a size 4, a medium weight size 4. It's a bit of a finer size 4, but I find on average 7, I haven't seen anybody chain more than 7. If it's a bit of a bulkier yarn, you may need to chain more, but almost always 7 is the average. Sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's 5. So you've got your circle. This is going to be the center of your granny square. Now, what we want to do is we want to chain 3 to bring us up to the height of a double crochet. Then what we'll do is we will double crochet into the circle once and then a second time. And don't worry about this little tail there. You can either work over that or weave it in later. So we've got 3 double crochets side by side, and don't forget that that chain 3 represents a double crochet. So we've actually created a shell stitch, a granny shell stitch. What we want to do now is chain 2. This chain 2 will create a corner, which you'll see developing as we go along. Next, we want to do 3 double crochets back into the center of this circle here. So we crochet once, second double crochet, and a third double crochet. See, and there's our next shell. And you can already see that that chain 2 creates a little bend there. So that's created the first corner of our granny shell. Of our first granny square. Next corner, we want to chain 2 and do it again. 3 double crochets into the center of your circle. And if you just need a little refresher on how to do the double crochets, make sure to check out the link in the description box below. We've put a link there to our tutorial on the double crochet stitch. So there we go, there's our second corner. And moving on, we chain 2 again. And we repeat 3 double crochets into the center of our circle. So at the end, you want to have 4 clusters of these shells. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. We chain 2 again to create our last corner, and now you want to identify the top of the chain 3 here, and you want to slip stitch into it. So you insert your hook, yarn over, pull through both of those loops. So that slips it right into place. And there we have our first row, or first round of the granny shell. So it's kind of square, but it's not quite squaring off just yet. And as we work more rows, you'll start to see it take more shape. Granny squares can be worked into as many rows as you like. I mean, I've even seen blankets where they start with 1 and just work their way out. We're going to do about three or 4 rows here. And in this example, this tutorial, I'm not going to change colors. I'll do another one where we change colors because there's just a slightly different technique of how we go onto each different row. But right now I'm going to keep the same color. So in order to go on to the second row, we have to keep in mind that we always want to start in the corner. Now I just finished a corner, so what I need to do is I need to identify the next stitch, and I want to slip stitch across. So I slip stitch into the first one, I find the next one, I slip stitch into that one, and then it brings me to the corner, and I just slip stitch into that one as well. So now I'm actually in a corner space, which is where I want to be. Okay, so now we're working a corner, which we start with a chain 3 because it represents the height of a double crochet. And we're going to double crochet 2 more times into that corner space. So this will be your formula for working your corners from here on out. You will do 3 double crochets, which creates a shell. You will chain 2 and then do another shell back into that same space. Okay, so the formula will be shell, chain 2, shell, or 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets, all into that same space. So see, again, that chain 2 bends really nicely to create our corner. And that's what helps us start expanding our square. Now, to get us, we're in row 2 right now. So to get us to the next corner, we want to do a chain 1 to give us a little bit of give over there. So as your rows start to expand and you'll have more shells along each row, you will chain 1 between each regular shell. The chain 2 is always reserved for the tops of your corners. So we're now in the next corner. So we will yarn over and do 3 double crochets into the stitch again, into the corner space. There we go. And now we're going to chain 2 and another shell or 3 double crochets back into the same space. And there we have our second corner. Okay, so we will chain 1 and repeat this again into this corner. You'll do 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, you'll chain 1 and then do the same thing in the next corner. And then you'll chain 1 again. So I'm going to let you go ahead and do these next 2 corners. Now I'll meet you just right around the time we're about to join that second row. And I'm just finishing off my last shell in this last corner here, and I'm going to chain 1, and I want to attach, I want to find the top of that chain 3, and I'm going to add a slip stitch. Now look at how that's shaping out. See, now it's really, oops, a little tail there. Now it's really starting to take out more of a square shape. So I like to every once in a while just stretch it out there. Okay, isn't that pretty? So you have your center here, you had your initial 4 clusters, and in each corner we're adding 2. Okay, so we're building up our sides now. Let's do row 3. So for row 3, we need to get back to this corner here. So we want to slip stitch along the tops of those double crochets, slip stitch until we find our way back to the corner. And here I slip stitch into the space, which is basically like doing a chain. Now I'm back in the corner and I will chain 3. And off I go again, 3 double crochets. Remember the chain 3 counts as 1. I will chain 2 and do another 3 double crochets. And one more. So many different color combinations you can do with this, so many different designs, patterns. It's really probably one of the most popular and identifiable designs in crochet is the granny shell. So now I am going to chain 1, because now I'm going to work my way over to this corner. But now I'm going to work into the space between the 2 shells of the previous row. So I just simply work a regular granny shell stitch, which is 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. See, so now my side is becoming longer. I chain 1, and here I am, back to the corner. You know the formula. Shell, chain 2, and shell, or 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. So I think that you've gotten the hang of this a little bit, and I'm going to let you go ahead and finish this round off, keeping in mind in each corner you're going to do your shell, chain 2, and shell, then chain 1, shell, chain 1. So in the space here you will just do a regular shell and you chain 1 between each regular shell. Corner is 3 doubles, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. Okay, so you go ahead and do that. If you need to stop the video and just rewind again, please definitely go ahead and do that. And I will meet you when we're just coming up to the end of round 3. And here we are again at the end of another row. So I've chained 1. I'm going to identify the top of my chain 3, insert my hook, and slip stitch. So after only 3 rows, look at how quickly this works up. Like you can really see the square shape taking hold. So cute. Okay. So I'm going to work a 4th row with you because I want you to also get comfortable. Now I feel you're comfortable with your corners most likely because you've done those more often. I want you to get comfortable with your regular sides. So we're going to work 1 more row. We're going to slip stitch across to our corner. Whoops. Make sure to get under your full stitch there. And slip stitch. And now chain 3. And our usual corner formula, 3 double crochets. Always remember that your chain 3 counts as 1. Chain 2. And double crochet. Sorry if I'm speeding through this. If you want also a much, I'm speeding through this here. I'm assuming you've seen our double crochet tutorial. So again, it will be linked in the description box below. So that's a basic staple that you should understand when doing this pattern is the double crochet stitch. Okay. So we're out of our corner and we've got a couple of spaces we're going to work into. So now as your rows grow, your sides will get longer. So we just want to keep in mind, you always chain 1 and then work a shell into that space of the 2 shells of the previous row. So I'm going to work into this space, double crochet, pulling through twice, yarn over, insert into the space, pull through 2, pull through 2 again. And 1 more. Okay, so see there's a shell. Now I'm not at the corner yet, so I need to chain 1 and I'm going to work into the next shell, into the next shell space. So 3 double crochets. See how that's working out? So with each row, you'll increase the number of spaces, which will give you a longer side. And then I'm back to my corner and I do my usual corner formula. Okay, so out of the corner, you're always going to chain 1, shell into this next space, chain 1, shell into the next space, chain 1. And in this case, I've come to the corner again. So I'm going to leave you to do the rest of this, the next 3 sides for practice, and then I'll just meet you at the very end. And we meet again at the end of another row. So I'm going to identify the top of my chain 3 as usual, and I'm going to slip stitch. And there we have a granny square. This is your traditional granny square, all in one color. And in fact, I'm probably going to continue on with this. So you can make as many rows as you like. You can do it in as many colors as you like. It might even be nice if you wanted to just do this pattern with a variegated yarn, just to give you a really pretty color change in that. So I hope this was easy to follow. If you have any other questions, definitely leave me a comment, and I will be happy to answer your questions and help you out. And I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure to subscribe for future crochet tutorials, and if you're interested in watching some of our stitch session conversations. We'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.